you should be scared of yourself. Because the thing is that anything that you can think of, it becomes true. As long as you can think of it, that version of you exists. You see those celebrities out there who are just super confident of you. Oh my God, how did they become that? Because they act that way. Because they believe that, it's going to affect the people around them. That you need to be authentic to yourself. You have to stay true to yourself. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. You can see the background's a little different because I'm currently still in Korea and actually going to visiting all the cafes and just having like a change of scenery. I didn't expect myself to be making any journal entries on traveling, okay? But I think it's very important that we all realize that this life is your own. This is definitely not the first time I spoke about this because it's just something I've always wanted my younger self to know. And I don't think it took me extremely long for me to realize that, but I think it took me longer than I should, but I don't really blame myself. So these days I've been using my journal as basically a script, not like a script, but I write down all the things I want to talk about and I say it. So this is basically what we're going to talk about today for this journal entry. I wrote it all down. First of all, I wrote down, you need to live life like it's your own. The key to happiness is to treat every single moment like it's yours. Today I kind of spent the day on myself and I realized that I own every single moment in my life. This moment is mine. Nobody can take it away from me. In life, we all set restrictions for ourselves, right? And it's like, I get it, especially just, you gotta work every day, right? You have a 9 to 5. There's certain things you can't because it's like, it's for survival. But there's certain things in life, it's the very small things in life that brings you happiness. Maybe instead of taking this route that I usually take, maybe I'll take a different route because that route seems more exciting. It's just a little tiny things that you do, but oh, I can actually break out of the box. I can do different things and it makes you feel just slightly happy. Usually I go home and I don't buy any desserts and today you're like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a dessert. I'm gonna go buy a cake and treat myself. It's just these little tiny things. You get what I mean? Something that I also wrote down is live life like it's yours. It made me really think about what's the most important thing in life. And I think I talked about this in another journal entry of mine, which is that I've seen someone say that authenticity is stronger than love. And when I heard that, it felt very assuring in a way. Even though I didn't really understand what it meant, but let's say like love, right? You love someone, you're in a relationship. Love without authenticity, I just don't think it can sustain itself, right? But authenticity is stronger than love in a way that you need to be authentic to yourself. You have to stay true to yourself. When you are true to yourself, everything else will align, okay? When you accept yourself, when love comes after, that love is deeper. And I think that these days I really, maybe it's because my frontal lobe is developed. It's only been 5 days since I turned like 25, but I just try to think that every single birthday, it just shows you that time is passing. So this life is yours. And I think that a lot of us fail to recognize that whatever decisions you make, you set your own rules. Even as a kid, I've always wanted a very simple life. I really value simplicity and that might differ from person to person, like your definition of what simplicity means. But I know that I always gravitate towards simplicity. I like when things are simple and I think that I'm very, very privileged enough for my life to be simple in a way that I have a roof over my head, like, I have a healthy body. I have a good environment where I feel rather safe because I know that some people, they might want the same thing and they might be a really kind person, but the environment and the people around them just treats them like shit and they can't get out of it. It sucks. It really sucks. Because the thing is that sometimes you can choose your environment, but sometimes some people are not privileged enough to be able to change their environments. Okay, so I want to say I'm very privileged to be able to live a very simple life. And something else that I really want to talk about is that in whatever that life you want, it can become true, okay? Whatever you want in life, it can become true, which is why I bring up to my second point. I said that you should be scared of yourself. Because the thing is that anything that you can think of, it becomes true. As long as you can think of it, that version of you exists. However, though, it takes time for you to get comfortable with the idea. It doesn't mean that, oh, just because I think I can do XYZ, I can do XYZ. You need to live with it, okay? Sometimes for me, it takes me maybe days if it's something very small, or something can take me years, maybe a max a year. But usually for me, it takes me a few months to get adjusted to a certain version of myself that I'm like, I really want to achieve this version of myself. And it just takes a while. And maybe like the bigger things might take a few years. But the thing is that if you can think it, genuinely, you can become it. And sometimes I get scared of my own mind. Sometimes I'm like, wait, my bitch ass, I know myself. I'm like, if I think something, I can do it. And the thing that this confidence doesn't build out of nowhere is because you constantly practice the skills of doing something. I'm very disciplined. When I think something, I do it. I don't just say it, I do it. It took me a few years to get adjusted to that. Now it's just build within me. I know that if I want something, I can do it. And so these days, yes, I still get stressed out with things I want to get done, but I think it's like when I have a lot on my plate, everyone gets overwhelmed. That's very natural. But the things that I know that I can get it done, I will get it done. It's just confidence. And the things that I want to say is that we all know that there's no right timing for anything, right? There's no right timing for whatever the fuck you want to do. But the thing is that there are moments in time, like you just feel like the surge of courage, like sometimes when I'm walking around at night, not like at night, at least here, it makes me feel slightly safer. Cancer, I just have this random surge of confidence where I'm like, okay, this is gonna work out for me. I don't know if it's the music. I don't know if it's just everything just feels so right. The streets are empty. It's just like you see the city lights. Everything just seems so perfect that you're just like, nothing can go wrong. And having a surge of confidence really helps. Maybe the next day you might feel like, okay, what the fuck was that? I feel shit again. But sometimes you just need that little bit of a push and you know what that feeling feels like. You're just so certain of yourself and just like, I can do this. But again, there's never the right timing. Somebody just have to take the leap. And you might be like, why is it that I can become what I think? Okay, so I wrote down a few points. Number one, your mind shapes what you see. Your brain doesn't just experience reality directly, it interprets it. Sometimes I get in the mood where I'm like, oh, everyone hates me and nobody likes me. So hence, every single time you go out, you're gonna pay attention to those things. You're gonna pay attention to everyone's frown at you. Everyone gives you attitude. A server gives you attitude. It makes you feel like shit. At least for me, it does. And I'm really guilty of that. I still feel bad about it. I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop doing that. But when you feel very confident, I'm confident, I'm amazing, you believe that. And so when you walk out, everyone is going to treat you that way. Not like everyone's going to treat you that way. Okay, maybe that too. We're going to get into that. But you're going to be focused more on people's smiles, people being nice to you, because it's just who you believe you are and it's your reality responds to that. So next I wrote, thoughts influence energy and behavior. Here's the pipeline, okay? You have your belief, and that affects to how you act, okay? The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, how confident you are. And that affects how the people around you respond to you because that's the way you act. And those people is then going to be your reality, how reality is going to, respond to you. It's just that simple. And you see those celebrities out there who are just super confident in themselves. You're, oh my God, how did they become that? Because they act that way. Because they believe that, it's going to affect the people around them, that sense of energy. And then when you watch them on TV, it's like they give off that energy and you're just like, she's that bitch. Because she believes it. When you believe it, it flows through you and that just becomes your reality. Honestly, like when you think about this, it is manifestation, but the thing is that it's not magic, but you could kind of say it is because it's like your inner self just kind of directly reflects, goes into your outer world. So the thing is that you need to know that your actions matter. Actions matter more than thoughts, and I think emotions drive actions. I wrote that emotions give thoughts power, okay? Because when you think about certain things with a strong feeling of emotion, that makes your body move. That makes your body do certain things. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. This is a hot take. Sometimes I feel like negative emotions can really drive you. At least for me, when I feel like I'm at the bottom of the bottom, just down there, I feel like shit. That's when I feel like there's nothing to lose. I already feel like hell. So I'm gonna be fucking desperate. I'm gonna be doing the most to break out of that. And sometimes when I say thoughts with emotion drives action, I don't necessarily always mean that it's happy thoughts, like I'm super happy, so I'm gonna go out and feel great about myself, and then everyone around me is just gonna be nice to me, and that just creates my ideal version of reality, right? It can also be negative, and negative emotions can become something positive. It just depends on how you're utilizing that, because that can easily go south as well. Depends on what the fuck you're doing. So you might be like, how do I create that sense of reality? How do I create the reality that I want? Number one, I wrote down is be aware, because the thing is that awareness alone breaks your old pattern. With everything in life, as long as you're aware, that is the first step towards anything in life. You need to notice like bad patterns about yourself. Like, why do I automatically think XYZ when XYZ happens? Why do I always do this? When the moment I step out, I just think that everyone fucking hates me. And it's kind of like when you have awareness, the best metaphor I can think of is that it's a light in the dark. It just sparks up a light. It doesn't light up the whole room, but at least it's there, You can see the walls, you can see your surroundings just slightly. Number two, you need to understand your situation right now. What is your story right now? What is your issue? What's going on right now? How would you describe yourself? Because once you realize that, this kind of also ties into awareness. You can then edit it. You can then change it. You can be like, nobody around me understands me. I'm not fully ready yet. I'm not capable of doing certain things. I don't have confidence in myself to go for what I want to go for. I am scared to let people know the real me. Whatever it is, you write it down and then you can edit the story. You have to first know very clearly what is your story? What is going on in your life right now? And next is like, you have to, this is more of the difficult part. You have to rewire your thoughts, but the thing is that you have to make it manageable. If you're like super insecure, right? You're super insecure and you're just like, I hate myself. And suddenly you're like, I want to become like super confident. I'm amazing. I'm confident. Do you see how jarring the distance between those two thoughts is? Kind of fucking insane. You can't jump from one point to the other just like that. You have to make it manageable. You can be like, well, I bring a new perspective to the table. I'm learning to feel confident in being seen. I also wrote down, I can grow at my own pace. You have to tell yourself certain things that makes sense. Okay. That is like manageable, because when you jump from like, I'm super insecure and you want to immediately become, I'm super confident, that's gonna fuck with your nervous system. It's not gonna make your nervous system be like stable. It's gonna be like shooting straight up. And then if it shoots straight up, you're just anxious as hell. That's gonna not really positively affect your reality and things. So when you make things like these little steps more manageable, you keep your nervous system steady while also creating your idealized version of reality. It's just, you have to think of it that way. Next, I wrote down, you have to repeat and you have to live it. You thinking these thoughts is not going to be enough. You have to practice it, because the thing is that our brain is wired on routine. At least for me, like I feel very calm when I have a routine. It's just like things make sense. You know, like making a matcha in the morning, as crazy as it sounds, like back then I was like super not used to that, but because I make a matcha every single morning now, or not just matcha, just a drink, it became a routine. It's just something that I do and just helps me relax. And it's just like your brain is just wired on repetition. Okay, when you repeat something, it just helps. It just fucking works. So yeah, you have to constantly be repeating that. And the things that you also have to live your life. You have to embody it. People always say this, like live the life as if you already have it. When I hear people say that, I'm like, it might be hard for some people, because it's like, how do you automatically become confident, right? What we need to add to that is that even just a little bit. Act as if you have that version of yourself just a little bit. Just acting like a little bit is something, because progress compounds, okay? Like I said before. Number 5 is very, very important. It's something that I still struggle for myself. You shouldn't force things. Do not force things. Do not force yourself to be like, I need to become confident. Am I getting there? Am I getting there? Because when you constantly ask yourself, you're constantly overthinking this. You just keep asking yourself, like, am I doing this? Am I doing this? That just signals fear. That makes you anxious as hell. You have to detach from forcing. You need to think of your thoughts as seeds. Why? Because seeds, when you plant them, you're not going to be, is it going to grow? Is it going to grow? It is going to grow if you water it. And you need to think of it like that. You need to trust in it. Instead of overthinking, I want to use the word overchecking. Don't overcheck something. When the thought is there, it's bound to happen. And something I really want to say is that it's already happening. You can relax into it, okay? I think for a lot of us, we tend to be overthinkers. It's very important for you to just be like, I am going to put in my hard work into this. Because the thing is that you can only go day by day, right? We cannot control the future. We shouldn't control what we can't control. Believe in your skill sets and do what you can every single day. And as time goes on, this is going to get better and better and better. And the thing is that you overchecking certain things, constantly ask, is it happening? Is it happening? It doesn't really help you in any way. It just makes you worried, because something we have to think about, is this really beneficial for me to constantly be overchecking something? Because we all want to think that. Instead, you should just think about, oh, how can I be better? When you act upon something, that, at least for me, lessens my worry. I don't really care if I'm succeeding or not, as long as I'm acting right, as long as I'm doing something. So instead, if you really are the type to get super anxious over something, then instead use that energy and try to be a bit better. And yeah, that's just a video that I really want to make today, because I feel like sometimes when I see people, I just feel like I just want to remind them, you create whatever reality you want. This life is yours, and time is going to pass. You know, I'm already 25. Time is always passing, and you're going to get old, and you need to do what you want to do in this lifetime. And sometimes I think about, at least for myself, I'm always like, what do I want in life? I think ever since at a very young age, I think I've always just wanted to be human, which is really fucking stupid, I know. But it's like, I feel like ever since I was a kid, I've always been looking at faces. I've always been looking at how people act around me. I'm always like, how did they act? I need to act like that. Almost as if I didn't know how to act, you know? But I think I did that mainly to fit in. I wanted to fit in. I want to be like the other. And so I didn't really get to know myself. I didn't really know what I liked, what I disliked. All I knew was just that I need to act how they act in order to be normal, in order to not stand out. And sometimes I feel like because of that mindset, I get really harsh with myself, because I always think I have to stand out. I perceive myself almost from another perspective, like, oh, how do people think of me? How does that person think of me? So which is why I'm always saying, like, you know, just be cringe. Just be cringe. Because I think that for a very long time, I'm like scared of being cringe. And even whatever the fuck I do, I always, back then as a kid, I always made sure, like, oh, do other people do this? Is this normal to do? You know, it's really weird, as if me existing itself is not normal. Like, I'm be like, how do you exist? How do you survive? Like, how do you take up space in society? And as a kid, it's just like I constantly be watching others, what other people are doing, and then I go in, which is why I get very self-conscious, which is why as a kid, I was really scared of going. I mean, as a kid, literally like 18 years old, 20 years old, I was really scared to go grocery shopping, because I just felt like I shouldn't do that. Like, I'm not allowed to do that. But I set those rules for myself, you know what I mean? I set those fucking stupid dumbass rules for myself. Who the fuck sets those rules, you know? So it's like your mind can easily be your prison if you're not careful enough. And yeah, I just feel like we ourselves need to realize that awareness is key to break out these certain situations. You need to realize that, okay, the way I'm thinking is not normal. This is not okay. And that's when it gets better. When you're aware, that's already a really big fucking step. I just want to make this video to you guys because I think it's good to realize that. I think it will be very beneficial to your life by realizing that. Anyways, that's it for this week's journal entry. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys all next week. And feel free if you guys have anything you guys want me to talk about, because these days when I have a topic, I just kind of like write it in my journal and then I just talk about it with you guys. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon. Love you.